For the longest time, we thought we had light pretty much figured out. We pictured it as this beautiful, elegant wave of energy, just rippling its way across the universe. But right around the turn of the 20th century, a few strange experiments started to pull back the curtain on a reality that was, well, a whole lot weirder.
And this, right here, was the question that was about to break classical physics. The crazy part is, the answer wasn't a simple yes or no. The journey to figure it out would totally reshape how we understand, well, everything. And it all kicked off with one seemingly simple observation.
All right, let's go back to 1905. Scientists at the time were looking into this thing called the photoelectric effect. The concept was super simple. What happens when you shine a light on a piece of metal? The answer, though, turned out to be anything but simple, and it pretty much set the stage for a scientific revolution.
So the setup itself was pretty straightforward. You've got a light, you've got a metal plate, and you've got a way to measure any electricity that's produced. Now, the old school thinking, the classical wave theory, said light was just a continuous wave of energy. So it just made sense that a brighter, more intense wave would have more energy and would hit that metal with a bigger punch, right?
And yeah, something definitely happened. The light's energy was actually strong enough to knock electrons right off the surface of the metal, which created an electrical current. It was light energy turning directly into electrical energy. So far, so good, but when scientists started looking really closely at the data, the experiment started to break all the rules.
This is where the real mystery starts. See, if light is a wave, a brighter light should give the electrons a much bigger kick, right? They should fly off with way more energy. And a really dim light, well, it should take a little while to build up enough energy to pop an electron loose. But that is not what happened. Not at all.
The clues just didn't add up. It was baffling. First, the electrons got knocked out instantly. No time delay, even with super dim light. Second, if you made the light brighter, cranked up the intensity, you got more electrons, sure, but each individual electron wasn't any more energetic than before. And third, and this was the weirdest part, the energy of those electrons only depended on the light's frequency, which you can just think of as its color. High-frequency blue light kicked out high-energy electrons, while low-frequency red light kicked out low-energy ones. It made no sense.
And this was the final nail in the coffin for the wave theory. What scientists found was that every metal has this minimum threshold frequency. If the light you're using is below that frequency, say a deep red light, nothing happens. Not a single electron moves. You could blast that metal with a searchlight bright red light for days, and nothing. Classical physics just had no answer for this.
And then, in that same year, 1905, this young patent clerk named Albert Einstein comes along with a totally radical idea. He basically said, hey, maybe we're thinking about light completely wrong. What if it's not a wave at all?
Einstein proposed this thing he called the photon. He imagined light not as a continuous wave, but as a stream of tiny, individual packets of energy, or quanta. So don't think of a wave washing up on a beach. Think of a hail of tiny, invisible bullets. Each one of those bullets is a photon.
Here's the core idea. Energy doesn't get exchanged smoothly. It happens in these little chunks, these discrete packets. An atom in that metal can only absorb the energy from one photon at a time. It's an all-or-nothing deal. And the crucial part is that Einstein said the energy of a single one of these photon bullets was directly tied to its frequency. Higher frequency light, like blue light, is just made up of more energetic photons. Lower frequency light, like red light, is made of less energetic photons. And just like that, all the puzzle pieces fell into place. All those mysterious clues suddenly made perfect sense. Why doesn't a brighter light make more energetic electrons? Because a brighter light is just more photons, more bullets, but each bullet still has the same punch. And why does everything depend on the color? Because a higher frequency, bluer photon, is just a higher energy bullet. If one of those bullets doesn't have enough oomph to knock an electron loose, it doesn't matter how many more you fire at it. The mystery of the threshold frequency was solved.
I mean, it was a completely new picture of light. In one brilliant move, Einstein's photon idea explained every single weird thing about the photoelectric effect. Light wasn't just a wave, it was also a collection of particles.
But you know how it is in science. As amazing as Einstein's idea was, a lot of physicists were, let's say, skeptical. Was this photon thing a real physical particle? Or was it just some clever mathematical trick that happened to explain this one weird experiment? They needed hard proof.
So, that was the big question hanging in the air in the 1920s. To prove the photon was a real thing, scientists had to show it could act like a real thing.
that it could physically collide with something else and transfer momentum, just like any other particle.
This is where an American physicist named Arthur Compton comes in with this just brilliant, intuitive idea. He thought, look, if a photon is a real particle, then shooting one at an electron should be just like one billiard ball smacking into another. The photon should bounce off or scatter, and when it does, it should give some of its energy to the electron.
So to test it, Compton built this really elegant experiment. He used really high-energy photons, X-rays, as his cue ball, and he fired them at a target of graphite, which had plenty of electrons to hit. Then he set up a detector to measure the photons that bounced off at different angles.
And the results, oh man, this was the smoking gun. He saw two clear peaks on his detector. One was at the original X-ray wavelength. Those were just the photons that missed and flew straight through. But then he found a second peak at a longer wavelength. And here's the key: in the world of light, a longer wavelength means lower energy. The photons that had bounced off had lost energy.
So where did that energy go? It was transferred to the electron it hit, kicking it away. This was it. This was undeniable proof of a physical particle-on-particle collision. Compton had shown, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that light acts like a particle. The photon was real.
So, these two big experiments, the photoelectric effect and Compton scattering, they weren't just some dusty old things in a textbook. They blew the doors wide open to the world of quantum mechanics, and in doing so, they completely changed our world. Just think about that journey. It took about 2 decades. In 1905, Einstein plants this incredible theoretical seed. Then, in 1923, Compton comes along with the hard, physical proof. And now, today, the idea that light is made of particles isn't just a theory. It's the engine driving a huge chunk of our modern world.
So, why does all this matter to you? Well, that photoelectric effect is the basic science behind solar panels, turning particles of sunlight into electricity for your home. It's also exactly how the sensor in your digital camera or your phone works, turning photons of light into the pixels that make up your photos. Lasers, medical tech, the future of quantum computing, all of it, every last bit, is built on this understanding that light is made of photons.
And that brings us to the final, really mind-bending idea. We proved that light is a particle, right? But we also know from tons of other experiments that it absolutely behaves like a wave. It is somehow impossibly both things at the exact same time. This wave-particle duality isn't some mistake. It's a fundamental truth about our universe. And it forces you to ask a pretty deep question. If something as basic as light can completely defy our common-sense ideas of how things should be, what else about the nature of reality are we just barely beginning to understand?